So we are live now.
Hi, hello. I'm Dr. Jeevan Ladi, ophthalmologist practicing in the city of Pune, state of Maharashtra in India. I welcome you all and thank you all for participating in this webinar. It's such a pleasure to deliver you this talk on the Ladi method of immersion ultrasound scan for premium intraocular lens power calculation using Barrett formula. There is no financial interest in products mentioned. There was an issue that with the modern formula, how can we integrate immersion ultrasound scan? How and can we utilize more effectively for modern intraocular lens power calculation? Today, the demand for the premium IOLs, including variety of multiple intraocular lenses, is increasing. So we want to give that advantage to the patients who are visiting your clinic where only immersion ultrasound is there, or even if you are using optical biometer, to them also this is going to be beneficial. To integrate this, we did a detailed literature search and came out with solution which I'm sure will be beneficial to you all. Below in the bar, you will have a chat box or a comment box. Please type your questions, which I'll try to answer at the end of the session. So let's begin now. Ladi method of immersion scan biometry to calculate intraocular lens power for cataract surgery is a copyrighted article which is registered in India under intellectual property rights, and the copyright number is 19315 2023 CO/L. This copyrighted article was sent to respected Dr. Abhay Vasavda, who is a world-renowned cataract researcher, and he is giving his opinion. I thank Dr. Vasavda for giving his opinion on this copyrighted article. Dr. Abhay Vasavda.
I'm so very happy for Dr. Jeevan Ladi. He has come up with some brilliant ideas and concepts to utilize the actual length measurement taken by immersion technique and combining it with the measurement taken by the newer optical biometers, and then get the information using the latest IOL calculation formula like Barrett's, variety of Barrett's formula. So congratulations, Dr. Ladi.
I thank Dr. Vasavda again for his opinion. It is a well-researched opinion after going through the copyrighted article, data, tables, and statistical analysis. In today's talk, the points which we are going to discuss are immersion axial length measurement, the study, possible options, and access to copyrighted Ladi method. The idea is to have first correct immersion axial length in your hand, then we will see how it can be incorporated. In immersion scan parameters, gain is very important. By default, in all the immersion machines, the gain is kept as a 70%. But if you are having a dense cataract, then this gain has to be increased. If you are using an automated immersion scan, then this will be increased automatically. And it will decrease if it is required. Suppose you are having artifacts between the lens and the retinal spikes. Standard deviation has to be less than 0.1 By chance, if it is more than 0.1, you can delete the reading and repeat the reading. A-scan spike patterns, cornea and retinal spikes are full height. Why? It can be either full or short and pointed in anterior lens and a posterior lens. Anterior lens 80 to 100% compared to corneal spike is acceptable. While as the cataract becomes more dense, posterior lens spike may be attenuated and up to 70 to 60% is also acceptable. So let's see the ideal spike first. What you can see here is a probe. That is immersion probe, commonly used as a Prager probe. As you can see here, this is a corneal spike in which there is an anterior cornea and there is a posterior cornea. This is an anterior lens spike and this is a posterior lens spike. This is a retinal spike, scleral spike, and this is the orbital factor. As the cataract becomes dense, these two spikes can be shorter compared to the corneal spike, which is normal and acceptable. The most important part is that your retinal spike should rise 90 degrees, which is not happening here. So this reading has to be repeated. This is a misaligned along the optic nerve where you can see the scleral spike is of not good quality. So the reading can be repeated. When patient is not looking at the target light, same issue is there with both immersion and optical. Beep sound indicates acquisition of immersion reading. What you can see here is a Prager shell, which is used for the immersion biometry. And we are showing you real-time acquisition of reading, and you realize that this is very simple and can be acquired in few seconds. As you can see here, once the acquisition is done in few seconds, what you see here is a probe, that is Prager probe spike. Next to that is a corneal spike. So this is a corneal spike, this is an anterior lens, this is a posterior lens, a retinal spike, scleral spike, and orbital spike. If you see right column, there are 10 readings, 5 in this column and a 5 in this column. So total 10 readings are there. But each reading is an average of 10 readings. So what you saw here is an average of 200 readings. So accuracy is always much better. And these are only 3 very important key points which will tell us whether your readings are proper or not. So validation of immersion axial scan, the key indicators are full height of corneal and retinal spikes, 90-degree angled retinal spike, and standard deviation should be less than 0.1. Now this is an ideal spike. As you can see, this is a probe or a Prager shell, anterior and posterior lens, anterior and posterior part of the cornea, anterior lens, posterior lens, retinal spike, scleral spike, and orbital spike. If you see standard deviation is 0.01. So this is a good reading. Now, if you see between the posterior part of the lens and retinal spike, there are artifacts. So what we have to look now here, whether the corneal spike is ideal, yes it is. Retinal spike ideal, yes it is. Is it 90-degree angulated? It is 90-degree angulated, and standard deviation is 0.02. So this is a good reading and acceptable. This is a posterior polar cataract, and you can see because of a dense posterior polar cataract, posterior lens spike is attenuated and pointed. So how do you know that this is a good reading or not? Same thing. You see the corneal spike, which is ideal and tall. Retinal spike, which is again tall, and 90-degree angulation here, and standard deviation 0.04. So this is acceptable and good reading. Posterior subcapsular cataract, again you can find that posterior lens is attenuated and smaller. Corneal spike, retinal spike of good height, 90-degree angulation, and standard deviation 0.03. So this is a good reading. This is a white mature cataract. In white mature cataract, you always find lot of noise in the mapping or in the spikes. So let's see what it is here. This is a corneal spike, which is tall. This is a retinal spike, which is tall and having a 90-degree angulation. Standard deviation is 0.02. So though we have a noise here, this reading is good and acceptable and will give an accurate IL power calculation. This is a dense cataract. You can see that posterior lens spike is attenuated while cornea, anterior lens, retina are of good height, 90-degree angulation, standard deviation 0.03. So good and acceptable reading. So in immersion, there are two modes. The automatic mode, which I have shown you on a video, which is very commonly used. It is very user-friendly and it has got an auto gain setting. That means if the machine feels that it is a dense cataract or there are artifacts, it will automatically increase or decrease the gain. The acquisition is very easy, and as I said, it's very user-friendly. There are some conditions in which automatic readings are not feasible, in which we have to use manual mode, especially if the cataract is very dense or patient is having very short or long eye. So as soon as you get a manual reading, you have to press the foot switch or press a button onto the machine and the machine will be acquired. Let's see the third generation formulae. Everybody today is using third generation formulae or modern formulas. So Holiday 2, half a Q, SRK, T, Holiday 1. But if you see, all of them are good in a particular axial length. Like say, Holiday is very good below 20 millimeter of axial length, half a Q good between 20 to 22. SRK T, half a Q and a Holiday are good for the most common type of axial length, that is 22 to 24.5. For a myopic patients where axial length is more than 24.5, you can either use Holiday 1, Holiday or SRK T form. The issue with third generation formula is that, especially when the axial length is more than 25.2, you have to optimize this by using Wong-Cox formula. Now, what are these figures? These are basically regression factors or regression analysis done after multiple patients were operated. Seeing their results, this formulae were derived. So eventually, you will have to use this formula to optimize your axial length. Otherwise, your IR power calculation may not be accurate. So let's see here. This chart shows us Holiday, Hoffa-Q, SRKT, Haggis, which are third generation formulae. As you can see, unless you use Wong-Cox formula, especially when the axial length increases in a long eyes, you are not going to get accurate readings. Or a patient is hyperopic, you need to optimize your lens constant. What does that mean? If you operate 15 to 20 hyperopic eyes or with the short eyeballs, then whatever readings you are getting post-operatively, that has to be optimized to get correct reading in further patients. In short, whenever we are using third formulae, they are blind or they are not ideal if the anterior segment anatomy is not normal. So they are only good only in a particular segment. That's why we prefer to use modern formulae, that is Barrett, Olsen, Hill RBS, and Kane formula. Olsen uses ray tracing. Version formula is Barrett Universal 2, and artificial intelligence is used beautifully in a Hill RBS formula. So if you use these four formulas, then your IR power calculation is going to be more accurate. Now, why is it so? The reason being that all these four formulae cover wide range of axial lengths. Posterior corneal astigmatism by default is compensated in the software. It gives a more accurate IL power. So going for any premium ILs, multifocal ILs, your readings are going to be more accurate and patients are going to be more happy. Out of this, Barrett is more widely used because it has got an axial length range of 12 to 38 millimeter and keratometry range of 30 to 60 diopters. So in this study, we have used Barrett Universal 2 formula. Please remember, the machines which you are using, either immersion A scan, keratometry, topographer, sham fluid imaging, should be calibrated regularly as per the manufacturer's norms for optimum results. So till this point, now we have a proper good axial length measure which can be acquired just in few seconds. So once we have that, then we'll know what is the benefit of this study. So let's go to the study now. The study, which is a copyrighted article registered in India, is named as Comparison of Target Refraction with Optical versus Immersion Biometry with Ladi Method using Barrett Universal 2 formula after phacoemulsification with premium IOLs. Aim is to integrate immersion ultrasound A-scan biometry with the modern formulae like Barrett Universal 2. As an introduction, advanced formulae require axial length input of optical biometry only. So there is a need to integrate immersion with advanced formulae, and Barrett Universal 2 formula is suitable for all axial lengths, and it is also widely used and selected for this study. This is the prospective randomized study approved by ethical committee. Study followed the tenets of Declaration of Helsinki. Informed consent was obtained from all the patients. Since there are only two groups, sample set calculation had a randomization of 1:1. Alpha error was kept as a 0.05. At 80% power of study, we needed 83 eyes per group. We enrolled 100 eyes in each group. The participants were above the age of 40 years of age. We enrolled only one eye per patient. Premium IOLs, that is aspheric monofocal IOLs, and a variety of multifocal IOLs were used. The study was conducted between April 2021 and February 2022. Patients who were willing for follow-up up to 6 months only were enrolled for this study. The exclusion criteria for this study where coexisting pathologies like a corneal scarring, glaucoma, vitreoretinal disease, traumatic or complicated cataract, and a potential acuity less than 64, 6 by 24 measured by RAM or retinal acuimeter or potential acuimeter. Randomization and masking, two groups in immersion ultrasound group, biomedics India machine was used and number was 100. In optical, ILMaster 500 was used and number was 100. Randomization scores with Stata statistical analysis software were used. Study coordinator revealed the type of biometry. Operating surgeon, optometrist, and counselor were masked for the study and even for the post-operative visits. Statistical analysis, continuous variables were the mean with the standard deviation or median with the interquartile range. Group differences assessment for student t-test for normally distributed data or Mann-Whitney U test for non-parametric distribution. Normality of distribution assessment was done by Wilcoxon-Wrexham test. Best corrected visual acuity was converted to log MR, and category variables were expressed in proportions in number and percentage. Group differences were tested by Chaikware or Fisher exact test. Univariate and multivariate linear regression analysis was done by factors which are influencing residual refractive error, which was the main aim of this study. Outcomes were explained as a beta coefficient with 95% confidence interval. Data was analyzed using Stata 12.1, IC Stata Group, Fort Worth, Texas, USA. P-values less than 0.05 were considered statistically significant. All analysis was carried out as per the protocol. For a clinical evaluation, best corrected visual acuity was tested, intraocular pressure with Goldman applanation tonometry, slit-lamp examination, lens opacification calcification. System 3 was used to assess the lens opacification or a grade of cataract. Each patient underwent dilated fundus examination preoperatively. The parameters which were considered are Barrett Universal 2 formula. Mandatory parameters only were used, that is axial length, anterior chamber depth, and keratometry. Parameters in both the groups. In optical biometry group, that is ILMaster 500, axial length, anterior chamber depth, and keratometry all were taken from the ILMaster machine. While in immersion machine, axial length was taken from an ultrasound machine, which is a EcoRule Pro Biomedics India in an automatic mode. While anterior chamber depth and keratometry were taken from Schimflug imaging with topography from a Cirrus company. Ladi method, once you have immersion readings in your hand of axial length, add 200 micron or 0.20 millimeter to the immersion ultrasound axial length readings. Why is that? As you can see here in ultrasound, when it goes inside the eye, since the beam breadth is more, it cannot enter into foveal pit. It gets started at internal limiting membrane, while laser interferon light or optical biometry light goes into the foveal pit up to retinal pigment epithelium. So the difference between two are 200 micron or 0.20 millimeter. So if you see a distance from internal limiting membrane to retinal pigment epithelium, that is RPE, is 200 micron or 0.20 millimeter. So once we achieve that, you add this value to the ultrasound, it is going to mimic, or it is comparable or as good as optical biometry. The study reveals that foveal thickness is 212 microns, while central foveal thickness is 182 microns. So obviously, average for the study was taken as a 200 micron or 0.20 millimeters. This was the logic behind using 200 micron or 0.20 millimeter addition of axial length to the immersion measured axial length measurement. Once you have this in your hand, now all the readings, either from a IL master group or ultrasound group, all the parameters were entered into the Barrett Universal 2 formula. The study target refraction is kept as 0, except for one eye with extended depth of focus IOL, which are made minus 0.05 myopic for micro monovision. At least in India, we try to keep in EDOF IOL right eye emmetrope and left eye a little bit myope for a good near vision, as this is distant and intermediate dominating lens. So by achieving this, we can get good range of vision. We correct right eye for emmetropia, reason being that there is a right-hand drive in India and many roads are small and don't have dividers, so that a driver can see very well opposite traffic coming towards him. Once you get the reading in your hand, all these calculations are done. You have to just type in a browser Barrett Universal 2 formula, which is available free of charge to everybody all over the world. This is what you are going to see once you type there. And this is the chart which is going to come in front of you. You can enter doctor's name, patient name, and patient ID. As I said, only mandatory parameters were considered, that is axial length in keratometry K1 and K2, optical anterior chamber depth, or measured by either way, and target refraction which you would like to keep. Lens thickness and wide to wide are optional. Now let's come to the A constant part. We have used lenses from a Johnson & Johnson because this was already entered into the data. So if you press here, we'll go to the next slide and come back again. So if you press onto the percentage constant, this type of drop-down menu lenses will come. We selected Johnson & Johnson, that's why this was the model which was selected. So if we just go back, but this was only for the study purpose, though we are using IOLs of many different companies also. Now, if you are using your own type of IOL, which you prefer to use in your practice, you don't have to press onto the drop-down menu. You can enter your personal A constant. The personal A constant means, you know, in your cases, which we have done minimum 20 or 25, your target is achieved. That A constant, you feed it here. Once you feed A constant here, lens factor is going to come by default automatically. So whether you press here from a drop-down menu or you put a constant of your own choice, lens factor is going to come by default. Now, if you have taken an immersion reading, add 0.20 millimeter to the immersion axial scan. That is, this is the axial length, and suppose you have taken a reading by immersion method, increase this to 22.87 in this particular example, that is 22.67 plus 0.20 with 22.87. And you proceed with your calculation. So what you have to do, once all the feedings are read, press on to calculate, then press on to universal formula, and you are going to get the power here of your choice. Whole process takes not more than few minutes to acquire axial length and feed it to the Barrett formula and get the reading, whether you are taking the reading on a optical biometer or on an immersion. Post-operatively or post-operative protocol, all surgeries were done by one surgeon, that is the speaking author. Temporal clear corneal incision phaco was done. Premium IOL of patient choice was selected. Topical steroids were tapered over a period of 1 month, and topical antibiotic were given for 1 week. Post-operatively, best corrected visual acuity and manifest refraction at post-op 1 month, 3 months, and 6 months were recorded. The spherical equivalent is taken at the end of 6 months, where sphere plus half of the cylinder is added to get the spherical equivalent. So the most important part of this study is a residual refractive error. That is a spherical equivalent which you are getting at the end of 6 months minus the target refraction, whether you have kept the target refraction of 0 or minus 0.5. It's very simple to calculate that way. Results: total 200 eyes of 200 patients, 100 each in IL master group and ultrasound group. Mean age was 62.9. Cataract grade more than 2 to 3 were almost 75%. Posterior subcapsular cataract in both the groups were 20 and 21%. And average IL power was 21.5. We can see them shortly into this table. This is the age in both the groups. This is a Ladi Method and IL master 500 group. Gender also, there is no much difference there. Logmar acuity was also recorded. And these are the grades of cataract, that is grade 1, 2, 3, and more than 3, and PSC cataracts. None of them are statistically significant. Almost same configuration will be seen in both the groups. The lens which we selected were of Johnson & Johnson company to keep the uniformity in the study as far as the A constant is concerned, as we are shown into the previous picture. So monoaspheric, that is monofocal aspheric IL, were 35% in first group and 30% in second group. Enhanced lens is also called as a distance dominating with little bit of intermediate vision, that is 1% in first group and 9% in second group. Monofocal Technis toric IL was used 17% in first group and 20% in second group. Multifocal Technis IL 17% in first and 14% in second group. Toric multifocal Technis IL 1% in the first group, 3% in second group. Extended depth of focus Symphony IL 13% in first group, 14% in second group. Symphony toric, that is extended depth of focus with toricity, were 7% in first group and 4% in another group. Synergy, also called as a continuous range of vision, was used in 9% in a first group and 6% in second group. So all this is not statistically significant. Almost same distribution is there in both the groups. Now, visual results, which is the most important part of this study, that is first group and this is the second group. If you see at 1 month, 3 months, and 6 months, best corrected visual acuity, sphere, cylinder is almost same in all 3 strata of 1, 3, and 6 months. You can see is almost same. So percentage of patients attaining the target refraction which was set by us was almost same, that is 73% in both the groups, which is not statistically significant. So as we said before, exact target refraction was achieved as 73% in both the groups, while patients within 0.5 diopter plus and minus were 94% in the ultrasound group and 92% in IL-master group, but again, not statistically significant. Spherical equivalent, if you see, in both the groups is almost same. Residual refractive error, which forms the crux of this study, is very negligible in both the groups and not statistically significant. So both are performing on par as far as the visual results are concerned and otherwise also. In the results, caution should be maintained for axial length which is more than 25 millimeter. The residual refractive is slightly higher in eyes with, say, axial length more than 25. It was negligible, but out of both the groups, that is 200 eyes, total 18 eyes have a little bit variation in the refraction. So in ultrasound group, it was minus 0.21, while in IL-master 500 group, it was minus 0.07. Though this is not statistically significant, this caution has to be maintained. You can see the scatter plot with locally weighted curve, that is Lowey's curve, and you can see most of the patients are on a zero line or lying within 0.5 plus or minus range. But as I said that in axial lengths where there are extremes of axial length, you can have few patients who are there with a little bit deviated refraction. Difference in residual refractive error, which is a crux of this study between the two groups, was 0.20 diopter at a 95% confidence interval. The range was minus 0.5 to minus 0.9 with a non-significant or not significant p-value of 0.64. Discussion: Ladi method of axial length is effective with Barrett universal 2 formula. Caution should be maintained at extremes of axial length. This method is also beneficial those who are using optical biometry. The Western literature, according to Ronda-Walton, this incidence of these patients is 22%. But as you go towards developing countries or rural, urban, semi-urban parts, the incidence of dense cataracts and people reporting late is quite high. People today are demanding premium IOLs, multifocal IOLs to get rid of the glasses, remain independent from glasses, which is beneficial from all point of view. So even if you are having optical biometry and patient demands multifocal IOLs, and if patient is having a dense nuclear cataract, dense posterior subcapsular cataract, dense posterior polar cataract, and white mature cataracts, it's not going to be easy to take the reading with optical biometry, and one has to depend on to immersion biometry. Swept source is another advancement in optical biometry, and it is performing quite well for a dense cataract, dense posterior subcapsular cataract, and posterior polar cataract, but challenge still remains for a white mature cataract. Accurate IOL power calculation formulae to get you exact reading and getting your target are Barrett Universal 2, Kane, Olson, and Hill RPS. But all of them need optical biometry axial lengths. So previous study shows that optical biometry is more accurate than immersion ultrasound method in calculating axial length, and that values derived from both these machines may not be used interchangeably. Ladi method with ultrasound derived axial length is enhanced by 200 micron or 0.20 millimeter, which appears to overcome this problem and provide refractive outcomes comparable to optical biometry. It is the drawback of this study. The Ladi method with ultrasound derived axial length is not been compared with swept source optical biometry, as it gives good readings even in a dense cataract. But there is still issue, as we said before, for wide mature cataract, even the swept source may be a challenging to take the axial lengths, and one has to depend on immersion ultrasound. Advantage of this study, it's a randomized study, adequate follow-up, and relatively good numbers. To the best of our knowledge, there are no studies looking at ultrasound-derived axial lengths compatible with newer IOL calculation formulae like Barrett Universal 2, Kane, Olson, and Hill, and RBS. In conclusion, Ladi method, where you can add 200 micron or 0.20 millimeter to the ultrasound-derived axial length, use Barrett Universal 2 formula, and you will get a comparable reading confidently like an optical biometry. The further studies are needed with a larger sample size, and other evolving formula like Olson, Hill, RBS, and Kane have to be also incorporated for widespread adoption of this Ladi method. These are our references. Now let's see possible options that somebody doesn't have a topographer or a shampoo imaging system, though it's a common instrument today. But let's take an example. You can use a simple automated keratometry. Only thing, set your values to 0.01 so that you get more accurate readings. Only in case of irregular astigmatism, you need to use either a topography or a shampoo imaging, which gives a complete scan of anterior segment. Other formulas like Olson, Hill, RBS, and Kane have not been used in study, which one can use. And for a longer eyes, as we said before, more study with a larger number is required. What's the SRK-T formula doing? This is the only formula where a nominal thickness of retina is added by default in this formula. But the range in which it works is 22 to 24.5, or more myopic eyes having axial length more than 26 millimeter. Posterior corneal astigmatism is not compensated and not good enough for shorter eyes or hyperopic eyes. So it's still better to go to other formulas which are freely available on internet. The resources, ideal spikes were taken from the Rhonda Wharton's book, and she's a world authority on biometry. Other spikes patterns were taken from the Google picture. Now, today I declare that you have a copyright access to the copyrighted Ladi method for only today's attendees. I request you to send both SMS on mobile and email also. So mobile number is 9766163623 and email to jivanladi@gmail.com. Once you send this, we'll get an answer as accepted for today's attendees. Immersion A-scan biometry workshop for a Ladi method for the premium IOLs. We are going to use Simul Eye, which has been specifically designed to do immersion scan so that you get a real hands-on experience along with the didactic lecture. The fourth workshop will be held on 15th of October 2023 for a 20% so that everybody gets opportunity to get hands-on. Venue is Dada Laser Eye Institute. It will start at Indian time at 8:30 in the morning with the breakfast and the registration. Then live demo with immersion on a model eye. Then there will be talk, and then the question answers followed by the lunch. Though first workshop will be held on 15th of October, this activity will continue till the time need is there. So you can contact DLEI@gmail.com or mobile number of 9922995549 to Mrs. Shalu Yadav, and let us know your convenience that when it is feasible for you to do it. If you miss first workshop, we can attend next workshops. No studies are complete with a dedicated work by a team of ophthalmologists and a staff. I thank Dr. Tanmay Dhamankar, Dr. Nitan Shah, and Dr. Shalu Chavan for their contribution to the study, and staff of Dada Laser Eye Institute. I thank you all for attending this, and I have hope that this is going to be beneficial to you in your practice, and for both of them, those who are using immersion also, and those who are using optical biometry also. I would like to take your questions now so that we will try to answer as many as possible. Please give me a few seconds so that we can come back with the list of questions so I can answer. I would like to take name of the person who is giving us the question, and he is from which part of the country or the world. Please excuse me, bear with me for a few seconds, and once we have the questions coming in, we'll be seeing them. There's a question from Dr. Pranav Patil, and the question is that Dr. Pranav Patil is an ophthalmologist practicing now in Tamil Nadu, and he's basically from Maharashtra. His question is, does it work well in eyes with a posterior staphyloma? When we say posterior staphyloma, that means we are talking about axial length, which is more than 25 to 26. We have already said that in this study, the total number of cases were 18, where the issue was there as far as the axial length was more. So we need to have more studies about this, but measurement of axial length should not be a problem in these patients, as the values which you get either by optical or even with the immersion may not be exactly as accurate as when the staphyloma is not present. But yes, both the techniques will be good and ideal for this. So the question from Dr. Ranjit Mukherjee from Mumbai. He's a very famous surgeon doing anterior and posterior segment surgeries. And what he wants to know that these advancements in the formulas which are there, can it be incorporated? Yes, it can be. We have studied only Universal 2 of Dr. Barrett, but you can try it with the Heal RBS. You can try it with Olsen, and you can try with the other methods which are available. Just few seconds, waiting for a few more questions which are coming. Dr. Sachin Pagade from Maharashtra is wanted to know more about calculation in case of premium IOLs. Premium IOLs are basically anything which is having a monofocal lens with asphericity or a variety of multifocals. And yes, we can very confidently use either of the method, either immersion or optical biometry, and get your power, as accurate as possible with amazing results. Dr. Shrikant Vaidya from Maharashtra is asking this question: how residual diffraction was calculated in a fraction less than 0.25? As we have said that visual acuity was again, we are converted to log MR, and post-operatively, whenever we take the readings, our auto settings are set below 0.25. So it starts from 0.1, and then we do the manifest refraction. You can get it on your machines also. If you set your auto refractometer to a value less than 0.25, you can get it. You can get it by acquiring also on automated refractive model. And so is there for the keratometry also. So I'm saying that even your keratometry, you should change it to 0.01 settings. So you will consistently get a keratometry and automated refractions, which are in a range which is more accurate. There's a question from Dr. Narendra Singh Verma. What is the incision SI value for 2.8 clear corneal incision? Do you recommend MSIC incision or step axis or OCC to reduce the astigmatism? Incision location is on anterior step axis. Now, if you see in these patients, all the patients were operated with 2.2 millimeter incision. And SI is the value, that is the surgically induced astigmatism, is the value which each surgeon has to calculate of his own. Like, where you start your incision? You start little bit behind the limbus? Are you starting at the limbus? Or you go 0.5 to 1 millimeter inside the clear cornea? So, see your cases, at least 15 to 20, consistently taking incision at same place, which is convenient to you as a surgeon, and that will give you a SIA, that is a surgically induced astigmatism readings, which you can incorporate into studies. This is a question from Dr. Shubhangi Bave. She is from Maharashtra. Will this method is calculating IL-4 in post-LASIK patient? Today's topic is not about this, but post-LASIK or post-PRK, IL-4 calculation formulas are available on internet. I personally prefer to use Sharma's equation for my patients who have been operated for PRK and LASIK, and which I've been doing it for a very long time, say almost 12 to 13 years. And the results are very good. I'm very happy about it. Only there are two methods, three calculations. One is Sharma's calculation. There's a Maloney's method, and there's a topography method. Maloney's method I use for very long eyes, which are more than 28 millimeter, who have undergone some form of some part of refractive error. And topography method I use when there is a small scar, opacity onto cornea, or irregular astigmatism. So three formulae, ma'am. One is the Maloney, topography method, and Sharma's equation. This is the question. I don't see the name. Just hold on, please. Okay, this is Sujit Kumar Mishra from Punjab. Which K readings prefer for the Barrett formula in post-RK patients? Pentacam, ultrasound A scan, or AutoK? Range of Barrett formula. Sir, if you have done an RK, the total equations are different. There are different formula. I use my own formula, which has been accepted and published. That is, if this is a 4 incision RK, increase power by 1. If it is 6 to 8 incision RK, that is radial catatomy incision, increase the power which you are regularly getting by 1.5 to 2 diopters. If it is 10 to 16 incisions, then you can increase the power by 2 to 3.5. Anything more than 16 diopter, I prefer to use 3.5 to 4 diopter more. Yes, you can measure it on a scan. There is no issue, because even if you are doing with the a scan immersion method, not contact method, so your cornea will not get pressed and you will get a good readings. Autocare readings, and Barrett has got a range of 12 to 38 axial length in millimeters, and you can say a range of 30 to 60 diopters in keratometry. So yes, it is absolutely feasible. There's a question from Dr. Kaushik Shah from Maharashtra. Why anterior chamber depth of immersion scan not considered, and why it was taken from Cirrus? You have an option of doing it, taking it from the immersion also. Since we were taking optical biometry anterior chamber depth from IL master, we wanted another method which is taking an optical measurement where the acquisition levels are considered to be very good. So that's the reason which we are taking it. You can do the study with your own thing by taking in fact, in Barrett universal formula, there is one more parameter which is given, two more parameters which are not mandatory. One is wide to wide, and second is lens thickness. Now, lens thickness you can get with immersion scan, that also you can include, and you can do the study and find out how it is going to be there. There's a question from Dr. Arundhi Kalisudaya from Maharashtra. Can this be used for phakic IL or secondary IL, or whether it is feasible? Now, when you are using a phakic IL patients, we'll have to go into a different mode of IL power calculation, which is there both in optical and immersion biometry. We can select that mode. You can select that mode and you can calculate the IL power. A secondary IL patients, yes, if you are doing a secondary IL, means that patient either has come to you in aphakic mode, so you can select aphakic mode and calculate secondary IL power. Yes, easy. Dr. Nitin Padde from Maharashtra is asking this question. Does other scan biometers have the same axial length results? Yes, why not? It's basically a measurement, and it is an ultrasound measurement. Only issue is about apprehension. We should not talk also today as far as the IR power calculation is there. Either we talk about the immersion or we other talk about the optical biometry. Yes, it can be used. The simple thing which I said in my talk is that the only one simple thing which needed to be done is a calibration of your machine. The machine which we are using, each day before we start the session, there's a compulsory calibration mode. So unless that is done and we get an acquisition green signal from them, we cannot proceed. There's a question from Dr. Nanda Paransi from Maharashtra. Many A-scan machines have integrated Barrett formula. Was the machine you use had this integrated? No. In our machine, Barrett formula is not integrated. And I feel it's going to give us spurious readings. The reason being that it will happen that though you have a Barrett formula on your machine, unless this measurement of 200 micron is adjusted, it's very difficult to get the readings more accurately in a premium IELTS. There is a question from Dr. Kaustubh Ranade. Why haven't you considered lens thickness? The lens thickness does play an important role in a final outcome. say if it is 4.5 millimeter. Absolutely right, Dr. Kaustubh Ranade. Why only lens thickness? Even white to white is a good parameters to be considered. But if you go back to the Barrett Universal 2 formula and check, the mandatory readings are axial length, keratometry, and anti-chamber depth. We are used only this and done a study. You can do another study where you can include fourth parameter as a lens thickness and get back to us. There's a question from Dr. Mukesh from Pune, Maharashtra. Do we need to modify A constant for IOLs, as IOL have different A constant for ultrasound and optical? If we are using Ladi modification, then we need to stick to optical A constant suggested by company. Yes. Now, if you see a box of a lens, it will have an optical A constant and ultrasound A constant. Now we are, by adding 200 micron, we are mimicking it to optical biometry now. So your question is very important and very valid. So once you add 200 micron to the axial length, this is now an optical reading. I mean, as good as optical reading, not exactly, but as good as optical reading, but yes, a very valid question. So you don't have to use that A constant which is there onto the lens box, which has been said or put or printed as a ultrasound A scan. I think we are through with most of the questions. Is there any? Okay. Questions? There's a question from Dr. Albert, and he's asking tips to calculate IOL power in high myopia and high hyperopia. I think both the methods are comparable. Immersion and optical biometry, both are good. And swept source optical biometry is doing an excellent job. There is a question from Dr. Tushar Mani, and this is a very valid question. Lens factor or A constant will not differ in Ladi method. No, it will not differ. In Barrett Universal, you are not supposed to feed in lens factor. Once you put A constant in A constant box, lens factor will come by default. Even if you try to put something there, it will not come. So once you put A constant there, the readings will come automatically by default. There's another question from Dr. Kaushik Shah from Maharashtra. When planning for toric IOL, which K readings do you choose? Manual K, auto K, OB or pentacam? It's a personal choice. All machines are doing good. What we do, we take readings from topography at a 3 millimeter, and we compare it with a automated keratometry, again, value set at 0.01. So both are comparable. So it's your choice, whichever gives you good reading. The reason we are using topography is that it gives you more additional information, whether astigmatism is regular or not. What is another things which are happening to the anterior surface of the cornea, posterior surface of the cornea. Though most of these pentacams are giving the reading about the posterior corneal astigmatism, say anywhere between minus 0.1 to 0.9, they are not today considered, as far as science and academics are concerned, as more valid readings. So, but at least it gives you an idea whether they are out of the bound. Posterior corneal astigmatism throughout your lifetime remains anywhere between minus 0.3 to minus 0.7 on an average. Of course, it can differ a little bit on either side. Most of the questions have been answered. I hope to your satisfaction. I really thank you all for joining this session and be with us. And I'm hopeful and I'm sure that this is going to help in your practice, whether you are using immersion or optical biometry, and see to it that your all patients are going to be more happy. Thanks a lot for joining. I'm highly obliged. Thank you very much.